In the heart of America lies a wilderness so vast and untamed that it defies human comprehension. This is a realm where survival is not guaranteed, where every sunrise brings new challenges, and where the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable creatures carve out their existence against impossible odds. From the towering peaks of the Rocky Mountains to the sprawling valleys of Alaska, from the geothermal wonders of Yellowstone to the wilderness of the Grand Tetons, America's national parks harbor some of the most extraordinary wildlife on Earth. Here, the cycle of life unfolds in its purest form, unmarked by the boundaries that define our human world. Welcome to Denali, where the roof of North America rises from an endless sea of tundra like a cathedral of ice and stone that humbles every creature that dares to exist in its shadow. Here, Mount McKinley, known to the indigenous Alaskan peoples as Denali, meaning the High One, dominates a landscape so vast and unforgiving that it serves as the ultimate test of survival for the hardy species that call this subarctic wilderness home. Denali National Park encompasses over 6 million acres of pristine wilderness, making it larger than the state of Massachusetts. The park's elevation ranges from 400 feet in the northern lowlands to 20,310 feet at the summit of Denali itself, creating a vertical gradient that compresses multiple climate zones into a single protected landscape. This dramatic elevation change, combined with the park's location just 240 miles south of the Arctic Circle, creates one of the most extreme environments found anywhere on Earth. The park's climate is characterized by long, harsh winters with average temperatures of -10 degrees Fahrenheit, and brief summers where temperatures can reach 70 degrees. The dramatic seasonal variation in daylight, from 24 hours of sunlight in summer to less than 4 hours in winter, creates biological rhythms that govern every aspect of life in this northern wilderness. The combination of extreme cold, variable precipitation, and permafrost creates a landscape that is both beautiful and brutally challenging for any creature attempting to survive here. The tundra ecosystem that dominates much of the park is characterized by low-growing vegetation, shallow active soil layers, and permafrost that lies just beneath the surface. This environment, while appearing barren to casual observation, supports a complex web of life that includes over 650 species of flowering plants, 165 species of birds, and 39 species of mammals. The brief growing season, lasting only 3 to 4 months, creates intense competition for resources and requires specialized adaptations for survival. In this land of extremes, where survival depends on the ability to endure conditions that would challenge the limits of life itself, 5 remarkable species have mastered the art of existence at the edge of the possible. The morning light reveals a massive form moving across the autumn tundra with surprising grace for an animal that can weigh nearly a ton. A bull caribou, his magnificent antlers spanning 5 feet and glowing white in the early sun, leads a small group of his kind across the vast expanse of Denali's northern reaches. His thick, hollow-haired coat, perfectly adapted for Arctic conditions, ripples with each step as he follows migration routes that have been traveled by his ancestors for thousands of years. This bull, easily identified by the distinctive branching pattern of his antlers and the white patches on his neck and shoulders, represents the embodiment of Arctic endurance. His large, specially adapted hooves act like natural snowshoes, spreading wide to distribute his weight across soft snow and boggy tundra, while their sharp edges provide traction on ice and rocky terrain. His ability to detect lichen and other food sources beneath several feet of snow makes him uniquely suited to survive in landscapes where other large mammals would starve. The caribou's migration through Denali represents one of nature's most spectacular displays of endurance and navigation. These animals travel up to 3,000 miles annually, following ancient pathways that guide them between summer calving grounds and winter feeding areas. Their internal compass, calibrated to magnetic fields and celestial navigation, allows them to maintain direction across featureless landscapes where humans would become hopelessly lost within hours. Winter in Denali transforms the caribou's world into a frozen wasteland, where survival depends on his ability to locate food sources buried beneath snow that can exceed 10 feet in depth. His remarkable sense of smell, capable of detecting lichen through several feet of snow, guides him to feeding areas where he uses his specialized hooves to excavate craters in the snow, creating access to the slow-growing plants that provide his primary nutrition during the harsh months. His thick winter coat, consisting of dense underfur protected by longer guard hairs filled with air for insulation, provides protection so effective that his body heat loss is minimal even in temperatures that would quickly kill most other animals. The hollow structure of his guard hairs creates an insulation system so efficient that snow accumulating on his back doesn't melt, indicating almost no heat transfer from his body to the environment. The bull's feeding behavior during winter involves a constant balance between energy expenditure and caloric gain. Each step through deep snow requires enormous amounts of energy, while the available food sources provide minimal nutrition compared to summer's abundance. His survival depends on his ability to efficiently process large quantities of low-quality vegetation, utilizing a specialized digestive system that can extract maximum nutrition from lichen and other Arctic plants. His remarkable ability to predict weather changes, demonstrated through subtle behavioral shifts hours before storms arrive, allows him to seek shelter in protected areas before conditions become life-threatening. The caribou's knowledge of terrain features that provide wind protection and access to food during storms represents accumulated wisdom that has been refined through countless generations of Arctic survival. As spring arrives and daylight begins to return to the northern landscape, the bull's behavior shifts to accommodate the dramatic changes in daylight and temperature that characterize the Arctic spring. His movement patterns become more purposeful as he responds to internal biological clocks that signal the approaching migration to summer breeding grounds. His body condition, maintained through months of careful energy management, will determine his ability to complete the arduous journey ahead. The caribou's spring migration represents one of the most demanding physical challenges in the animal kingdom. The bull must traverse hundreds of miles of varied terrain, from snow-covered tundra to raging rivers swollen with meltwater, while competing with thousands of other animals for the best feeding areas and migration routes. His ability to navigate these challenges depends on remarkable physical endurance and the collective knowledge of the herd. His interactions with predators during migration create some of the most dramatic wildlife encounters in Denali. Wolves, grizzly bears, and other predators concentrate their efforts during migration periods when caribou are most vulnerable, creating intense selection pressure that has shaped every aspect of the caribou's behavior and physical capabilities. His ability to detect predator presence from great distances and communicate danger to other herd members represents a sophisticated anti-predator strategy. Summer brings the caribou into their most productive season, when the brief but intense growing period of Arctic plants provides the nutrition necessary for antler growth, fat accumulation, and preparation for the autumn breeding season. The bull's daily routine during summer involves intensive foraging on the nutrient-rich plants that emerge during the midnight sun period, building the body condition necessary for both winter survival and autumn mating competitions. His relationship with insects during summer presents unique challenges that significantly impact his feeding behavior and energy expenditure. The massive swarms of mosquitoes and other biting insects that emerge during the warm months can drive caribou to seek relief on snow patches and windy ridges, even when better feeding opportunities exist in more protected areas. His behavioral adaptations to insect harassment include timing feeding activities to coincide with periods of reduced insect activity. As autumn approaches and the first snows begin to dust the high peaks, the bull's behavior becomes increasingly focused on the approaching rut and the intensive competition that will determine his breeding success. His antlers, now fully grown and polished, represent months of biological investment and will serve as both weapons and displays during the mating season. His body condition, accumulated through months of intensive feeding, will determine his ability to compete with other males for access to females. In the pre-dawn darkness of a Denali winter, a gray wolf moves through the snow with the fluid grace of a predator perfectly adapted to life in the Arctic. Her thick coat, ranging from silver gray to nearly black, provides both camouflage and protection against temperatures that would quickly kill less adapted animals. At 80 pounds of muscle, intelligence, and predatory instinct, she represents the alpha female of a pack that has claimed a territory spanning 600 square miles of some of the most challenging hunting ground in North America. This wolf, known to researchers as the matriarch of the East Fork Pack, has established herself as the dominant female in a social structure that represents one of nature's most sophisticated examples of cooperative behavior. Her pack, consisting of her mate, several subordinate adults, and their offspring from the previous year, operates as a coordinated hunting unit, capable of bringing down prey many times larger than any individual member could handle alone. The wolf's adaptations for life in Denali are extraordinary, reflecting millions of years of evolution as a pack-hunting predator in Arctic conditions. Her large paws, equipped with webbing between the toes, act as natural snowshoes that allow her to travel across snow that would bog down most other animals. Her powerful jaws, capable of exerting 1,500 pounds of pressure per square inch, can crush bones and deliver killing bites to prey as large as moose. Her exceptional endurance allows her to travel up to 50 miles in a single day while hunting, maintaining a steady pace that can eventually wear down even the most athletic prey species. This remarkable stamina, combined with her pack's coordinated hunting strategies, makes wolves the most efficient large predators in the Denali ecosystem. Her ability to regulate her body temperature through behavioral and physiological adaptations allows her to remain active even in the most extreme weather conditions. Winter in Denali presents the wolf pack with hunting challenges that require remarkable coordination and strategic thinking. The deep snow that blankets their territory affects the movement patterns of all prey species, concentrating them in areas where they can access food while making them more vulnerable to predation. The pack's hunting strategy during winter involves complex coordination between pack members, with each individual playing a specific role in the elaborate choreography of a successful hunt. Her leadership during pack hunts demonstrates sophisticated communication and strategic thinking that rivals any military operation. The alpha female's ability to assess prey vulnerability, coordinate pack movements, and make split-second tactical decisions determines the success or failure of hunts that can determine the pack's survival. Her vocalizations, including howls, barks, and subtle body language, coordinate pack activities across distances that would make verbal communication impossible. The wolf's remarkable intelligence is perhaps most evident in her ability to learn and adapt hunting strategies based on the behavior of different prey species. Her approach to hunting caribou differs dramatically from her strategy for taking down moose, demonstrating cognitive flexibility that allows her to adjust tactics based on the specific challenges presented by each type of prey. Her ability to remember successful hunting locations and return to them when conditions are favorable represents sophisticated spatial memory and planning abilities. Her social interactions within the pack create a complex hierarchy that maintains order while allowing for flexibility in response to changing conditions. The alpha female's dominance is maintained through a combination of physical superiority, intelligence, and social skills that keep subordinate pack members focused on group goals rather than individual competition. Her ability to mediate conflicts between pack members and maintain group cohesion is essential for the pack's survival in an environment where cooperation is literally a matter of life and death. As spring arrives and prey species begin to move in response to changing conditions, the wolfpack's hunting strategies must adapt to new challenges and opportunities. The pregnant alpha female's nutritional requirements increase dramatically as she prepares for the approaching birth of her pups, requiring the pack to increase their hunting success rate during a time when prey is becoming more dispersed and alert. The denning season transforms the alpha female's role from active hunter to den-bound mother, completely dependent on her packmates for food and protection. Her selection of den sites, typically in areas that provide protection from weather and predators while remaining accessible to the pack, demonstrates remarkable knowledge of terrain and environmental factors. The location she chooses will determine the survival of her pups during their most vulnerable period. Her litter of 4 to 6 pups, born blind and helpless after a 2-month gestation period, represents the future of the pack and the culmination of the year's hunting success. The pup's survival depends entirely on the pack's ability to provide a steady supply of food during the critical first months of life when they are growing rapidly but cannot contribute to hunting efforts. The alpha female's milk production and maternal care during this period determine the pack's long-term success. Summer brings the wolf pack into their most productive season, when the abundance of prey and the participation of yearling wolves in hunting activities allows them to maintain larger pack sizes and successfully raise young. The alpha female's role during this period involves teaching hunting skills to her offspring while maintaining the pack's territorial boundaries against encroachment by neighboring packs. Her interactions with other predators in the Denali ecosystem involve complex relationships that reflect both competition and mutual avoidance. While wolves are capable of driving grizzly bears from kills through coordinated group action, they typically avoid direct confrontation with these powerful predators. Her ability to assess the threat level presented by different predator species and respond appropriately demonstrates sophisticated decision-making abilities. The education of young wolves represents one of the most complex learning processes in the animal kingdom. The alpha female's demonstration of hunting techniques, teaching of pack communication, and gradual integration of young animals into the pack's social structure requires months of patient instruction. This extended period of education is essential for developing the complex skills required to survive as a pack hunter in such a challenging environment. As autumn approaches, and the first snows begin to signal the return of winter conditions, the alpha female's behavior becomes increasingly focused on preparing her pack for the months of intensive hunting that will determine their survival. Her assessment of pack strength, territory quality, and prey availability will determine the pack's strategy for the coming winter, including decisions about territory size and hunting priorities. The ground trembles slightly as a massive form emerges from the willow thickets along a braided river channel, revealing a grizzly bear sow whose 400-pound frame represents the raw power of the Arctic incarnate. Her thick, silver-tipped brown coat ripples with each movement, and her distinctive shoulder hump, composed of muscle and fat that gives her the strength to excavate frozen ground and overturn boulders, marks her as one of Denali's most formidable predators. Behind her, two first-year cubs follow closely, their survival entirely dependent on their mother's ability to navigate the extreme challenges of life in the far north. This sow, known to researchers as Bear 435, has established herself as the dominant female in a territory spanning 50 square miles of diverse habitats, from river valleys to alpine tundra. Her success in raising cubs in this harsh environment demonstrates mastery of skills that include fishing, foraging, hunting, and the complex behavioral adaptations necessary for surviving winter in one of the most challenging climates on Earth. The grizzly bear's adaptations for life in Denali are extraordinary, reflecting millions of years of evolution as an omnivorous predator in Arctic and subarctic environments. Her massive claws, up to 4 inches long and constantly growing, serve as tools for digging, climbing, fishing, and defense. Her powerful jaws and specialized teeth allow her to process everything from tiny berries to large ungulates, making her one of the most versatile predators in the northern ecosystem. Her exceptional sense of smell, 7 times more powerful than a bloodhound's, allows her to detect food sources and potential threats from distances that would be impossible for other animals to achieve. This remarkable olfactory ability guides her to everything from buried roots to distant carcasses, providing the sensory foundation for her survival in a landscape where food sources are often widely scattered and difficult to locate. Winter in Denali transforms the grizzly bear's world into a frozen landscape, where survival depends on her ability to enter a state of dormancy that allows her to survive months without food, water, or elimination. Her preparation for this remarkable biological feat begins in late summer, when she enters a period of intensive feeding known as hyperphagia, during which she may consume up to 20,000 calories per day to build the fat reserves necessary for winter survival. Her selection of den sites demonstrates remarkable knowledge of microclimate variations and terrain features that provide optimal conditions for winter survival. The sow's den, typically excavated in a hillside or beneath tree roots, must provide protection from extreme cold while maintaining proper ventilation and structural integrity throughout the winter months. Her ability to assess soil conditions, drainage patterns, and exposure to weather demonstrates sophisticated environmental awareness. The denning process itself represents one of nature's most remarkable biological adaptations. The sow's body temperature drops only slightly, allowing her to maintain awareness of her surroundings while dramatically reducing her metabolic rate. Her heart rate slows from 40 beats per minute to just 8, and her breathing becomes so shallow that she appears nearly lifeless. Most remarkably, she gives birth to cubs during this period of dormancy, providing them with milk and care, while remaining in a state of reduced consciousness. Her cubs, born in January, weighing less than a pound each, represent one of the most extreme examples of altricial development in the mammalian world. These tiny, helpless creatures must find their way to their mother's milk and maintain their body temperature against her warm body without any active assistance from the dormant sow. Their survival during their first months depends entirely on their mother's fat reserves and her ability to produce milk while living off stored energy. As spring arrives and the family emerges from their den, the sow faces the enormous challenge of finding food while protecting her vulnerable cubs from the numerous predators that view them as easy prey. Her knowledge of early spring food sources, including the locations of winter-killed carcasses and the timing of new plant growth, determines her family's survival during this critical period when her own body condition is at its lowest point. The sow's fishing behavior during salmon runs represents one of the most spectacular displays of predatory skill in the animal kingdom. Her ability to time her arrival at fishing locations to coincide with peak salmon density demonstrates remarkable knowledge of seasonal patterns and environmental cues. Her fishing techniques, ranging from patient waiting to explosive charges through shallow water, showcase the behavioral flexibility that has made grizzly bears successful in diverse environments. Her interactions with other bears during fishing season involve complex social dynamics that minimize conflicts while allowing multiple individuals to exploit the same resource. The sow's ability to assert dominance over subordinate bears, while avoiding confrontation with larger males, demonstrates sophisticated social intelligence. Her protective behavior toward her cubs during these encounters makes her one of the most dangerous animals in Denali, as she will attack any perceived threat, regardless of size or species. Summer brings the grizzly bear family into their most productive season, when the brief but intense growing period of Arctic plants provides diverse food sources that allow them to rebuild their body condition after the winter's fast. The sow's teaching of foraging skills to her cubs involves patient demonstration of complex behaviors, including plant identification, root excavation, and insect gathering techniques that will be essential for their survival as independent bears. Her remarkable memory allows her to return to specific food sources at precisely the right time to take advantage of peak nutrition. Her ability to remember the location and timing of berry patches, nut groves, and other seasonal foods across a territory spanning hundreds of square miles represents one of the most impressive cognitive abilities in the animal kingdom. This spatial and temporal memory is essential for maximizing caloric intake during the brief summer season. The sow's hunting behavior demonstrates remarkable versatility and opportunism, as she adapts her techniques to pursue prey ranging from ground squirrels to adult moose. Her ability to assess the energy costs and success probability of different hunting opportunities allows her to make optimal decisions about when to pursue prey and when to focus on less energetically demanding food sources. As autumn approaches and the first frosts begin to signal the end of the growing season, the sow's behavior becomes increasingly focused on the intensive feeding period that will determine her family's survival through the coming winter. Her selection of feeding areas shifts toward foods with the highest caloric density, and her daily activity patterns become synchronized with the timing of peak food availability. Her preparation of her cubs for their first winter involves teaching them about den selection, food caching, and the behavioral adaptations necessary for surviving the harsh Arctic winter. This education process is critical for their survival, as young bears who fail to learn these essential skills have little chance of surviving their first winter independently. In the perpetual twilight of a Denali winter, a snowy owl perches motionless on a wind-sculpted ridge, her brilliant white plumage making her nearly invisible against the snow-covered landscape. Her piercing yellow eyes, each containing visual receptors that function efficiently in the extreme light conditions of the Arctic, scan the endless expanse of tundra below with mechanical precision. At 4 pounds of perfectly adapted aerial predator, she represents one of nature's most efficient hunters and a master of survival in conditions that would challenge any living creature. This female, distinguished by the subtle dark barring on her otherwise pristine white feathers, has established a territory spanning 100 square miles of open tundra, where her preferred prey of small rodents struggles to survive beneath the snow. Her success in this harsh environment demonstrates mastery of hunting skills that include silent flight, precise prey location, and the complex behavioral adaptations necessary for surviving winter in one of the most challenging climates on Earth. The snowy owl's adaptations for life in Denali are extraordinary, reflecting millions of years of evolution as an Arctic predator. Her exceptional eyesight, capable of detecting the movement of small rodents from distances exceeding 2 miles, allows her to locate prey across vast expanses of seemingly featureless terrain. Her asymmetrical ear openings, positioned at different heights on her skull, provide three-dimensional hearing that allows her to pinpoint the exact location of prey moving beneath the snow. Her remarkable plumage serves multiple functions beyond camouflage, providing insulation so effective that she can maintain normal body temperature, even when ambient temperatures drop to -60 degrees Fahrenheit. Her feathers extend down to her talons, creating a complete insulation system that allows her to remain active when other birds have long since migrated to warmer climates. Her compact body shape minimizes heat loss, while maximizing her ability to generate and retain body heat. Winter in Denali transforms the snowy owl's world into a frozen landscape, where survival depends on her ability to locate small mammals beneath snow that can exceed 10 feet in depth. Her hunting behavior during winter involves patient observation from elevated perches, followed by silent flight to areas where her exceptional hearing has detected prey movement. Her ability to remain motionless for hours while scanning for prey demonstrates remarkable patience and energy conservation. Her hunting technique represents one of the most precise examples of predatory behavior in the animal kingdom. The owl's approach to potential prey involves a careful assessment of wind conditions, snow depth, and prey behavior patterns that determines the success or failure of each hunting attempt. Her ability to adjust her flight path mid-approach to compensate for prey movement demonstrates remarkable coordination and spatial awareness. The snowy owl's silent flight capability, achieved through specialized feather structures that eliminate the sound of air movement over her wings, allows her to approach prey without detection. This adaptation, combined with her exceptional eyesight and hearing, makes her one of the most efficient hunters in the Denali ecosystem. Her ability to capture prey that she cannot see, relying entirely on sound location, represents remarkable sensory integration and motor coordination. Her feeding behavior during winter involves careful energy management, as each hunting attempt requires significant energy expenditure, while success rates can be low during periods of severe weather. The owl's ability to survive extended periods without food, up to several weeks during the harshest conditions, provides crucial flexibility in an environment where prey availability can be unpredictable. Spring brings the snowy owl into her most demanding season, when the nutritional requirements of egg-laying and incubation combine with the challenges of hunting in rapidly changing conditions. Her selection of nesting sites, typically on slightly elevated areas that provide good visibility and protection from ground predators, demonstrates sophisticated environmental awareness. The nest location must provide access to hunting areas while offering protection from the weather extremes that can occur even during the brief Arctic summer. Her remarkable clutch size, which can range from 3 to 11 eggs depending on prey availability, represents one of the most variable reproductive strategies in the bird world. The owl's ability to assess prey density and adjust her reproductive effort accordingly demonstrates sophisticated decision-making abilities that maximize her reproductive success while minimizing energy expenditure during challenging conditions. The snowy owl's incubation behavior involves a complex balance between maintaining proper egg temperature and continuing to hunt for the food necessary to sustain herself during the month-long incubation period. Her ability to time her hunting trips to coincide with periods when eggs can safely be left unattended demonstrates remarkable knowledge of temperature regulation and embryonic development requirements. Her interactions with other predators in the Denali ecosystem involve complex relationships that reflect both competition and the need to avoid becoming prey herself. While she is capable of defending herself against most aerial predators, her survival depends on her ability to detect and avoid larger predators including golden eagles and gyrfalcons. Her speed and maneuverability provide her primary defense against these threats. Summer brings the snowy owl family into their most productive season, when the abundance of small mammals and the extended daylight hours allow for intensive hunting to support her growing offspring. Her role during this period involves providing a steady supply of prey to her nestlings, while teaching them the complex skills they will need to survive as independent hunters. Her remarkable hunting success during summer, when she may capture up to 10 rodents per day to feed her family, demonstrates the exceptional efficiency that has made snowy owls successful in Arctic environments. Her ability to locate and capture prey across vast areas of tundra, while simultaneously defending her territory from other predators, showcases remarkable multitasking abilities. As autumn approaches and the first snows begin to signal the return of winter conditions, the snowy owl's behavior becomes increasingly focused on preparing for the months of intensive hunting that will determine her survival. Her assessment of prey density and territory quality will determine whether she remains in Denali or joins the southern migration that takes some snowy owls to more temperate regions during the harshest months. Her migration behavior, when it occurs, involves remarkable navigation abilities that allow her to travel thousands of miles, while maintaining awareness of prey availability and weather conditions. Her ability to time her movements to coincide with optimal hunting conditions demonstrates sophisticated environmental awareness and planning abilities. Welcome to Yellowstone, America's first national park, and a primordial landscape that seems torn from the pages of Earth's most violent chapters. This is a battleground where apex predators roam territories measured in hundreds of square miles, where herbivores must constantly balance the need for food with the threat of death, and where the introduction of wolves just decades ago rewrote the rules of survival for every creature that calls this place home. Yellowstone spans over 2.2 million acres of wilderness, stretching across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. Its elevation ranges from 5,282 feet at the northern entrance to 11,358 feet at Eagle Peak, creating a diverse array of habitats from river valleys to alpine meadows. The park experiences extreme seasonal variation, with winter temperatures plunging to -30 degrees Fahrenheit and summer highs reaching into the 80s. This dramatic range creates a natural rhythm that governs the lives of every creature within its borders. The park's hydrothermal features, including over 10,000 geysers, hot springs, and fumaroles, create microclimates that provide refuge during harsh winters and serve as gathering places during the breeding season. These geological wonders are powered by the Yellowstone caldera, a supervolcano that last erupted 640,000 years ago and continues to shape the landscape through its underground activity. In this realm of extremes, some remarkable species have mastered the art of survival, each adapting to the unique challenges that Yellowstone presents throughout its dramatically changing seasons. The morning mist rises from the Lamar Valley as a lone howl pierces the silence, answered immediately by a chorus of voices that seem to emerge from the earth itself. A gray wolf stands motionless on a ridge, its amber eyes scanning the valley below, where a herd of elk graze nervously in the early light. This is the alpha female of the Druid Peak Pack, and her presence here is both a testament to one of conservation's greatest success stories and a reminder of nature's unforgiving arithmetic. The wolf's thick winter coat ripples in the mountain breeze as she takes a step forward, her massive paws leaving barely a whisper in the snow. At 80 pounds of pure muscle and instinct, she represents the return of a predator that was absent from this landscape for nearly 70 years. Her pack of 7 wolves has been tracking this elk herd for 3 days, waiting for the perfect moment when weakness reveals itself in the form of an old bull or an injured calf. Winter in Yellowstone is a season of brutal honesty for wolves. The pack must kill large prey every few days to survive, and each hunt is a calculated risk that could result in injury or death. The alpha female's scarred muzzle tells the story of countless encounters with the sharp hooves of desperate elk and the antlers of defiant bucks. But these scars also speak of survival, of a predator so perfectly adapted to this harsh environment that she has become its apex ruler. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat, the wolf pack's territory expands from the winter's compressed range of 30 square miles to a vast summer hunting ground of over 300 square miles. The alpha female leads her pack through this seasonal migration, following the elk herds as they move to higher elevations in search of new grass. During this time, she is heavy with pups, her body channeling its energy into the next generation of predators who will continue the ancient dance of hunter and hunted. The den she has chosen lies hidden among the roots of an ancient Douglas fir, its entrance concealed by a tangle of deadfall and mountain shrubs. Here, in late April, she gives birth to 6 pups, each weighing barely a pound and completely dependent on her protection. The alpha male and other pack members take turns hunting while she remains with the vulnerable young, their survival hanging in the balance during these first critical weeks. Summer brings abundance, but also new challenges. The pups emerge from the den as curious, playful creatures, whose games of chase and wrestling are actually intensive training for the serious business of survival. The alpha female watches over their education with patient intensity, teaching them to read the subtle signs of their prey's behavior, to coordinate their movements with the pack, and to respect the dangerous power of their quarry. As autumn approaches, and the first snows begin to dust the high peaks, the wolf pack prepares for another winter of survival. The alpha female's coat thickens, her body stores fat reserves from the summer's successful hunts, and her mind calculates the complex social dynamics that will determine which pack members survive the coming months. The young wolves, now 40 pounds of lean muscle and growing confidence, face their first winter as hunters rather than dependents. The ground shakes with the thunder of 10,000 hooves as a massive herd of American bison moves across the Hayden Valley like a living river of brown and black. Leading this ancient procession is a bull whose massive head and shoulders speak to the raw power that once defined the Great Plains. At 2,000 pounds of muscle and bone, he represents the largest land animal in North America and the living symbol of a species that once numbered in the tens of millions. This bull, marked by a distinctive scar across his right flank from a long-ago encounter with wolves, moves with the confidence of an animal who has no natural predators once he reaches maturity. His massive head, crowned with sharp black horns that can span 30 inches from tip to tip, swings rhythmically as he walks, his small eyes constantly scanning the horizon for potential threats. The thick mat of dark brown hair covering his head and shoulders serves both as protection from the elements and as a visual display of his dominance within the herd. Winter in Yellowstone tests the bison's remarkable adaptations to their harsh environment. As temperatures plunge to -40 degrees Fahrenheit and snow accumulates to depths of 6 feet or more, the herd's survival depends on their ability to forage in conditions that would challenge any other large mammal. The bull's massive head becomes a living snowplow, sweeping aside snow with side-to-side movements that can clear areas up to 3 feet wide down to the grass beneath. The bison's thick winter coat, consisting of dense underfur protected by long guard hairs, provides insulation so effective that snow accumulating on their backs doesn't melt, indicating that virtually no body heat is being lost. Their broad hooves, each weighing several pounds, act as natural snowshoes, distributing their weight across the snow surface and providing traction on icy terrain that would challenge smaller animals. During the harshest winter storms, the herd instinctively moves toward Yellowstone's geothermal features, where the ground remains warm and snow melts more quickly. The bull leads his group to areas around hot springs and geysers, where the Earth's heat creates patches of accessible grass, even in the deepest winter. These thermal refuges, unique to Yellowstone's landscape, provide critical survival resources that allow the park's bison population to maintain itself through extreme weather conditions. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat, the bull's attention turns to the complex social dynamics that govern bison society. The winter's united herd begins to fragment into smaller groups, with mature bulls often separating from the cows and calves to form bachelor herds that will roam the high country throughout the summer months. But first comes the rut, a period of intense competition that will determine which bulls earn the right to mate with the cows. The bull's behavior during rutting season transforms him from a generally placid grazer into a 2,000-pound fighting machine driven by hormones and instinct. His neck swells with muscle and fat. His normally brown coat darkens to almost black, and his temperament becomes increasingly aggressive and unpredictable. He engages in ritualized displays of dominance, pawing the ground with his massive hooves, rolling in dust wallows that coat his body with mud and his own scent, and issuing deep bellowing calls that can be heard for miles across the valley. When two bulls of equal size and determination meet during the rut, the resulting confrontation is one of nature's most spectacular displays of raw power. They charge toward each other at speeds up to 35 miles per hour, their massive heads colliding with a crack that echoes across the landscape like a gunshot. The impact, equivalent to a small car hitting a brick wall, would kill most animals. But the bison's reinforced skull and powerful neck muscles are specifically evolved to withstand these tremendous forces. Summer brings relative peace to the bull's existence, as he joins a bachelor herd that roams the high meadows and river valleys of Yellowstone's backcountry. During this season, his primary concerns are finding the richest grass and avoiding the biting insects that plague all large mammals during the warm months. His massive size requires him to consume up to 30 pounds of grass per day, and his selective feeding habits mean he must constantly move to find the most nutritious plants. The bull's impact on Yellowstone's ecosystem extends far beyond his role as a grazer. His massive hooves create depression in the soil that collect rainwater, forming temporary wetlands that support diverse plant and animal communities. His wallowing behavior creates dust baths that are later used by numerous smaller animals, and his grazing patterns help maintain the grassland ecosystems that support dozens of other species. As autumn approaches and the first snows begin to dust the high peaks, the bull's body begins its preparation for another winter of survival. His metabolism slows slightly, his appetite increases to build fat reserves, and his social behavior shifts as he begins to feel the hormonal changes that will drive him to seek out cows for the coming rut. The massive shoulder hump that gives him his distinctive profile grows larger as his body stores fat and muscle for the challenges ahead. From a jumble of granite boulders near the tree line comes a sharp, piercing call that echoes across the alpine landscape like a tiny alarm bell. The source of this distinctive sound is barely visible among the rocks. A pika, a small mammal, no larger than a hamster, but whose presence in these harsh mountains represents one of nature's most remarkable adaptations to extreme altitude and climate. This particular pika, a female with dense gray-brown fur that matches the lichen-covered rocks perfectly, sits motionless on her favorite lookout post, a boulder that provides a commanding view of the entire talus field that serves as her territory. Her round ears, disproportionately large for her 6-inch body, swivel constantly as she monitors her domain for the approach of hawks, weasels, and other predators that view her as a convenient meal. The pika's existence in Yellowstone's high country is a testament to the power of specialization. At elevations above 8,000 feet, where the growing season lasts barely 3 months and winter temperatures can drop to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, most small mammals would quickly perish. But the pika has evolved a suite of adaptations that allow her to not just survive but thrive in these extreme conditions. Her remarkable fur coat, denser than that of a polar bear, provides insulation so effective that she can remain active throughout the winter months when most other small mammals are hibernating. The coat's color changes subtly with the seasons, becoming grayer in winter to match the snow-dusted rocks and more brown in summer to blend with the sun-warmed granite. Her small size, which might seem like a disadvantage in this harsh environment, actually helps her conserve body heat by reducing the surface area exposed to the cold. But the pika's most extraordinary adaptation is her unique approach to food storage. Unlike other small mammals that hibernate through the winter, she remains active year-round, which means she must have access to food throughout the 8-month winter season. Her solution to this challenge is both ingenious and exhausting. She spends the entire brief summer collecting and drying vegetation to create hay piles that will sustain her through the winter. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat from the high peaks, the female pika emerges from her winter shelter among the rocks to find her territory dramatically changed. The carefully constructed hay piles she created the previous summer have sustained her through the winter, but now she faces the urgent task of beginning the process anew. Her sharp alarm calls ring across the mountainside as she establishes her territory boundaries and begins the race against time to collect enough vegetation before the next winter arrives. The pika's foraging behavior during summer is a masterpiece of efficiency and planning. She ventures out from the safety of her rocky fortress to collect grasses, sedges, and wildflowers, carrying them back to her territory in her mouth. But rather than consuming these plants immediately, she spreads them on flat rocks, where the intense high-altitude sun and constant wind dry them into natural hay. These hay piles, or hay piles, can contain up to 60 pounds of dried vegetation, enough to sustain her through the long winter months. Her selection of plants for storage demonstrates remarkable knowledge of which species will dry well and retain their nutritional value over the winter months. She preferentially collects plants high in protein and fat, while avoiding those that would spoil quickly or provide little nutritional benefit. This selective foraging requires her to travel throughout her territory, which can span several acres of difficult terrain, multiple times each day during the brief growing season. The pika's reproductive cycle is precisely timed to take advantage of the brief window of favorable conditions in the high country. The female typically gives birth to her litter of 2 to 4 young in late June, when the snow has retreated enough to provide access to fresh vegetation, but early enough in the season that the young will have time to establish their own territories before winter returns. Welcome to Grand Teton National Park. Here, the Teton Range rises from the valley floor without the courtesy of foothills, creating a wall of granite spires that pierce the sky. These mountains, born from catastrophic geological forces and carved by glaciers into their current majesty, create a landscape so dramatic that it serves as the backdrop for some of the most intense wildlife dramas in North America. The ecosystem here operates under different rules than the gentler landscapes found in most national parks. The combination of extreme elevation changes, from 6,000 feet in the valley to over 13,000 feet on the peaks, creates a vertical mosaic of habitats that compress multiple climate zones into a space that can be traversed in a single day. Alpine conditions exist mere miles from temperate forests, and the animals that live here must be prepared to adapt to environments that change dramatically with both altitude and season. Grand Teton National Park encompasses 310,000 acres of some of the most diverse and challenging terrain in the American West. The park's elevation ranges from 6,320 feet at Jackson Lake to 13,770 feet at the summit of Grand Teton itself. This vertical relief creates a natural laboratory where animals must adapt to conditions that range from temperate lakeshores to Arctic alpine zones within a matter of miles. In this vertical wilderness, where survival depends on the ability to adapt to extreme conditions and navigate terrain that would challenge even the most skilled mountaineer, 5 remarkable species have mastered the art of living between earth and sky. The morning mist rises from the still waters of a beaver pond, as a massive shadow moves through the willows with surprising stealth. Suddenly, a bull moose emerges from the vegetation, his enormous antlers spanning 6 feet from tip to tip, each point sharp enough to impale a predator foolish enough to challenge him. At 1,500 pounds of raw power and unpredictable temperament, he represents one of North America's most formidable herbivores, and perhaps the most dangerous animal that park visitors might encounter. This bull, easily identified by researchers through the distinctive palmation of his antlers, has claimed this wetland as his territory during the autumn rutting season. His massive shoulder hump, composed of muscle and fat that gives him his distinctive profile, ripples with each movement as he wades through the shallow water in search of aquatic plants. His long, powerful legs, designed for navigating the deep snows and marshy terrain of the North Country, allow him to move through water that would stop most other large mammals. The moose's adaptation to the Teton's extreme seasonal changes is remarkable for such a large animal. During winter, when snow depths can reach 10 feet and temperatures drop to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the bull's survival depends on his ability to find food sources that remain accessible despite the harsh conditions. His massive size, while providing protection from predators, also means he must consume up to 60 pounds of vegetation per day to maintain his enormous body mass. His remarkable nose, both in size and sensitivity, serves as his primary tool for locating food beneath the snow. The moose's ability to detect the scent of buried vegetation through several feet of snow allows him to locate willow browse and other woody plants that provide the calories necessary for winter survival. His long legs, which can seem awkward in other settings, become invaluable assets in deep snow, allowing him to step over obstacles that would trap smaller animals. Winter feeding behavior transforms the bull from a relatively peaceful browser into a more aggressive competitor for limited resources. His massive antlers, which can weigh up to 40 pounds, serve both as weapons and as tools for breaking through ice and clearing snow from feeding areas. The energy required to grow these antlers each year is enormous, representing up to 25% of his total calcium intake, but they provide critical advantages during the competitive winter months. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat from the lower elevations, the moose's behavior shifts dramatically. The bull sheds his antlers in late winter, a process that leaves him temporarily vulnerable but allows his body to redirect energy toward rebuilding his strength after the harsh winter months. The antler drop sites become important sources of calcium for smaller animals, particularly rodents and birds who gnaw on the discarded bone to supplement their diets. The emergence of new aquatic vegetation in the warming ponds and marshes draws the bull back to his preferred wetland habitats. His ability to dive up to 20 feet underwater to reach submerged plants is one of the moose's most remarkable and unexpected adaptations. Watching this massive animal disappear completely beneath the surface of a mountain lake, only to emerge minutes later with a mouthful of pondweed, challenges our preconceptions about what large land mammals can accomplish in aquatic environments. His specialized lips and tongue, incredibly sensitive and mobile, allow him to select only the most nutritious parts of aquatic plants while filtering out debris and less digestible materials. This selective feeding behavior is critical during the spring months when his body is recovering from winter's challenges and beginning to grow a new set of antlers that will be even larger than the previous year's rack. Summer brings the moose into his most productive season, when the abundance of both aquatic and terrestrial vegetation allows him to gain the weight necessary for survival during the coming winter. His daily routine involves moving between feeding areas that can be miles apart, following ancient trails that lead him to the richest food sources in his territory. His massive hooves, each the size of a dinner plate, distribute his weight effectively across marshy terrain and provide excellent traction on the rocky slopes where he browses on mountain ash and other shrubs. The bull's relationship with other wildlife during summer is complex and often tense. His aggressive temperament and massive size make him a formidable presence that even large predators approach with extreme caution. Grizzly bears, despite their reputation as apex predators, will typically avoid direct confrontation with a healthy adult bull moose, recognizing that the risk of injury from those massive antlers and powerful hooves is not worth the potential reward. His interactions with wolves are particularly interesting, as pack hunters present a different type of threat than solitary predators. While a single wolf poses no threat to a healthy adult moose, a coordinated pack attack can potentially bring down even the largest bull. The moose's response to wolf presence involves a complex calculation of risk and reward, weighing the energy cost of fleeing against the probability of successful predation. As autumn approaches, and the first frosts begin to kill the summer's abundant vegetation, the bull's behavior becomes increasingly focused on the approaching rut. His new antlers, now fully grown and hardened, represent the culmination of months of biological investment. The velvet that has nourished the growing bone throughout the summer begins to dry and peel away, leaving behind polished weapons that gleam in the autumn sunlight. The rutting season transforms the normally solitary bull into an aggressive competitor whose behavior can be unpredictable and extremely dangerous. His deep, guttural calls echo across the valley as he announces his presence to potential mates and rivals. These vocalizations, which can be heard for miles in the still mountain air, serve as both advertisement and warning to other moose in the area. His courtship behavior involves elaborate displays of dominance, including thrashing his antlers against vegetation, wallowing in muddy areas to coat himself with scent, and engaging in ritualized combat with other bulls. These confrontations, while potentially deadly, are usually resolved through displays of size and strength rather than actual combat, as the risk of injury to both participants is enormous. A shadow moves through the aspen grove with such fluid grace that it seems to be part of the dappled sunlight itself. The mountain lion, a magnificent female weighing 120 pounds of pure muscle and predatory instinct, pauses behind a fallen log to assess the small herd of mule deer feeding in the meadow beyond. Her tawny coat, marked with subtle darker shading along her back, blends perfectly with the golden autumn leaves, making her nearly invisible even to the sharp eyes of her prey. This lioness, known to researchers as F51, has established a territory spanning 50 square miles of some of the most challenging terrain in the Teton Range. Her domain includes everything from the dense forests of the valley floor to the rocky cliffs and alpine meadows above timberline, each habitat requiring different hunting strategies and presenting unique challenges for a solitary predator. Her success in this vertical wilderness depends on her ability to adapt her hunting techniques to prey that ranges from small marmots to adult elk. The mountain lion's adaptations for life in the Tetons are remarkably sophisticated, reflecting millions of years of evolution as a stealth predator. Her massive paws, each armed with retractable claws that can extend to nearly 2 inches in length, provide both silent movement across various terrain and the ability to grip prey with devastating effectiveness. Her hind legs, disproportionately powerful for her body size, can propel her 40 feet horizontally or 15 feet vertically in a single leap, allowing her to traverse terrain that would stop most other predators. Her exceptional night vision, 6 times more sensitive than human eyesight, transforms her into a phantom of the darkness. The reflective layer behind her retinas, called the tapetum lucidum, gives her eyes their characteristic green glow in artificial light, and allows her to hunt effectively in conditions where her prey is nearly blind. This adaptation is particularly valuable during the long winter nights when hunting opportunities are limited and energy conservation is critical for survival. Winter in the Tetons tests the mountain lion's abilities to their absolute limits. Unlike pack hunters who can share the energy costs of bringing down large prey, the lioness must rely entirely on her own skills and strength to secure the calories necessary for survival. Her preferred prey, mule deer, becomes increasingly difficult to hunt as the animals concentrate in areas with less snow and develop heightened vigilance during the harsh winter months. The lioness's hunting strategy during winter involves a careful balance between energy expenditure and caloric gain. Each hunt is a calculated risk that could result in injury, failure, or exhaustion, all of which can be fatal for a solitary predator. Her approach to hunting combines infinite patience with explosive action, as she may spend hours stalking a single deer before attempting the brief, violent encounter that will determine whether she eats or continues to weaken from hunger. Her kills during winter must sustain her for longer periods than during other seasons, as the energy required to locate and stalk prey in deep snow is enormous. A single adult deer can provide enough calories to sustain her for up to 2 weeks, but only if she can defend her cache from the scavengers that are drawn to any available food source during the harsh winter months. Her ability to drag prey weighing more than she does up steep slopes and into concealed locations demonstrates the incredible power contained within her compact frame. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat from the lower elevations, the lioness's behavior shifts to accommodate the dramatic changes in her prey's distribution and behavior. The deer and elk that survived the winter are weakened and more vulnerable, but they also become more dispersed as they follow the retreating snow line to access new vegetation. Her hunting territory effectively expands as the snow melts, requiring her to cover even greater distances to locate suitable prey. The lioness's reproductive cycle is precisely timed to take advantage of the most favorable conditions for raising young. Her litter of 2 to 3 kittens, born in late spring in a secluded den among the rocks, represents an enormous investment of time and energy. The kittens, born blind and helpless, depend entirely on their mother's hunting ability, not only for their own nutrition, but also for the milk production that will sustain them through their first months of life. During the summer months, the lioness's hunting behavior becomes even more complex, as she must balance her own nutritional needs with the demands of raising rapidly growing kittens. Her kills must be larger and more frequent to support the additional caloric requirements of lactation, while simultaneously teaching her offspring the complex skills they will need to survive as independent hunters. The education of young mountain lions represents one of the most sophisticated learning processes in the animal kingdom. The lioness demonstrates stalking techniques, teaches prey recognition, and gradually allows her kittens to participate in hunts under her careful supervision. This extended period of education, lasting up to 2 years, is essential for developing the complex skills required to survive as a solitary predator in such challenging terrain. Her interactions with other predators in the Teton ecosystem are carefully managed to avoid conflicts that could result in injury or death. While she is capable of defending herself against individual wolves, a coordinated pack attack presents a serious threat that she avoids through superior mobility and knowledge of terrain features that provide escape routes. Her relationship with grizzly bears is one of mutual avoidance, as both species recognize the potential for serious injury in any confrontation. As autumn approaches and the first snows begin to dust the high peaks, the lioness's behavior becomes increasingly focused on building the fat reserves necessary for winter survival. Her hunting intensifies as she takes advantage of the abundant prey that has grown fat on summer vegetation, and her selection of cache sites becomes more strategic as she prepares for the months when hunting opportunities will be severely limited. High above the Teton Valley, riding thermals that rise from the sun-warmed earth below, a golden eagle circles with the effortless grace of a master of the sky. Her 8-foot wingspan catches the morning light as she surveys a territory that spans hundreds of square miles. Her extraordinary eyesight, capable of detecting the movement of a ground squirrel from distances that would make the prey invisible to any earthbound predator. At 12 pounds of perfectly adapted aerial predator, she represents one of nature's most efficient killing machines and the undisputed ruler of the Teton's airspace. This female, identifiable by her slightly larger size and the golden hackles that give her species its name, has claimed a territory that extends from the valley floor to the highest peaks of the Teton Range. Her domain includes diverse habitats from grasslands to alpine zones, each requiring different hunting strategies and presenting unique challenges for an aerial predator. Her success in this vertical wilderness depends on her ability to read the complex air currents and weather patterns that govern flight in mountainous terrain. The golden eagle's adaptations for life in the Tetons are extraordinary, reflecting millions of years of evolution as an apex aerial predator. Her eyes, each larger than a human's, contain 5 times more visual receptors and can detect ultraviolet light, allowing her to see details that are completely invisible to other animals. Her ability to spot prey from distances exceeding 2 miles while maintaining the precision necessary for a successful strike at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour represents one of the most remarkable sensory adaptations in the animal kingdom. Her massive talons, each capable of exerting 750 pounds of pressure per square inch, are perfectly designed for the instant kill that characterizes her hunting style. These weapons, harder than steel and sharp enough to penetrate bone, can crush the skull of prey as large as young deer or puncture the vital organs of smaller animals with surgical precision. Her hooked beak, while formidable in appearance, serves primarily as a tool for tearing flesh rather than as a weapon, reflecting her strategy of killing with her talons rather than her bill. Winter in the Tetons presents the golden eagle with unique challenges that test her adaptability as an aerial predator. The extreme cold affects her ability to maintain the precise muscle control necessary for successful hunting, while the deep snow that blankets her territory forces many prey species into sheltered areas, where they become difficult to locate and approach. Her hunting strategy during this season shifts from the opportunistic approach of summer to a more systematic search pattern that maximizes her chances of locating the concentrated prey that has survived the harsh conditions. Her remarkable ability to read weather patterns becomes critical during winter months when sudden storms can create life-threatening conditions for any creature caught in the open. The eagle's sensitivity to barometric pressure changes allows her to detect approaching weather systems hours before they arrive, giving her time to seek shelter in the protected roosts she has established throughout her territory. Her choice of roost sites, typically on cliff faces that provide protection from wind and precipitation, demonstrates her intimate knowledge of the microclimate variations that occur throughout her mountainous domain. The golden eagle's hunting behavior during winter involves a complex calculation of energy expenditure versus caloric gain. Each hunt requires enormous amounts of energy to maintain flight in the thin air and turbulent conditions of high altitude, while the reduced prey availability means that unsuccessful hunts can quickly deplete her energy reserves. Her ability to fast for extended periods, up to 2 weeks without food, provides a crucial buffer against the unpredictable nature of winter hunting. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat from the lower elevations, the eagle's behavior shifts to accommodate the dramatic changes in prey distribution and the approaching breeding season. Her territory effectively expands as thermal currents strengthen and prey species begin to move from their winter concentration areas to summer feeding grounds. Her hunting success improves dramatically as ground squirrels, marmots, and other prey species emerge from hibernation and become active in open areas where they are vulnerable to aerial attack. The golden eagle's courtship displays represent some of the most spectacular aerial performances in the animal kingdom. Her mate, a slightly smaller male who shares her territory, engages in elaborate flight demonstrations that include high-speed dives, barrel rolls, and synchronized flying that showcases their mastery of three-dimensional movement. These displays, performed at altitudes that would challenge modern aircraft, demonstrate the incredible physical capabilities that have made golden eagles the ultimate aerial predators. Their nest, constructed on a cliff face that provides commanding views of the surrounding territory, represents a massive investment of time and energy. The structure, built from sticks and lined with softer materials, can weigh over a ton and may be used for decades by successive generations of eagles. The nest's location, typically on an inaccessible ledge hundreds of feet above the ground, provides complete protection from ground-dwelling predators while offering the thermal currents necessary for easy access. Summer brings the golden eagle into her most productive season. when the abundance of prey allows her to successfully raise her young while maintaining her own condition. Her hunting territory during this period can exceed 100 square miles, as she seeks out the diverse prey species that provide the protein necessary for the rapid growth of her eaglets. Her ability to take prey ranging from small rodents to animals as large as young deer demonstrates the remarkable versatility that has made golden eagles successful in diverse environments. The education of young golden eagles represents one of the most complex learning processes in the avian world. The female demonstrates hunting techniques, teaches prey recognition, and gradually allows her offspring to participate in hunts under her careful supervision. This extended period of education, lasting up to 6 months, is essential for developing the complex skills required to survive as an aerial predator in such challenging terrain. Her interactions with other raptors in the Teton ecosystem are carefully managed through a complex system of territorial boundaries and temporal activity patterns. While she is capable of dominating most other birds of prey through sheer size and power, her preference for avoiding conflicts allows multiple raptor species to coexist within the same general area by utilizing different hunting strategies and prey preferences. As autumn approaches and the first snows begin to dust the high peaks, the golden eagle's behavior becomes increasingly focused on the intensive hunting period that will determine her survival through the coming winter. Her prey selection shifts toward larger animals that can provide more calories per hunting effort, and her territorial behavior becomes more aggressive as she prepares to defend the resources necessary for winter survival. On a ledge so narrow that most animals would consider it impassable, a bighorn sheep ram stands with casual confidence, his magnificent curved horns creating a perfect spiral that speaks to decades of growth and survival in one of North America's most challenging environments. His muscular 300-pound frame, covered in a thick coat of brown and white fur, demonstrates the perfect balance between power and agility that has allowed his species to thrive in the vertical world of the Teton Range. This ram, distinguished by the deep curl of his horns that marks him as a mature male approaching his prime, has established himself as a dominant member of the bachelor herd that roams the high country during the summer months. His impressive horns, which can weigh up to 30 pounds and measure over 40 inches in length, serve multiple purposes beyond their obvious role in dominance displays and combat. They also provide protection for his brain during the spectacular head-on collisions that characterize bighorn sheep social dynamics. The bighorn sheep's adaptations for life in the Tetons are remarkable, reflecting millions of years of evolution in precipitous mountain environments. His specialized hooves, with hard outer edges and soft, grippy centers, provide traction on rock surfaces that would be challenging for experienced human climbers. His exceptional balance, maintained through a combination of low center of gravity and incredible proprioceptive awareness, allows him to navigate terrain where a single misstep would result in a fatal fall. His extraordinary eyesight, adapted for life in the bright light and clear air of high altitudes, can detect the movement of predators or other sheep from distances exceeding 2 miles. This visual acuity, combined with his elevated vantage point on cliff faces and ridges, makes him nearly impossible to approach undetected. His ability to spot mountain lions, wolves, and other predators long before they can mount an effective attack provides the margin of safety necessary for survival in environments where escape routes are limited. Winter in the Tetons transforms the bighorn sheep's world into a frozen landscape, where survival depends on his ability to locate food and maintain body temperature in conditions that would quickly kill less adapted animals. His thick winter coat, consisting of dense underfur protected by longer guard hairs, provides insulation so effective that snow accumulating on his back doesn't melt, indicating minimal heat loss. His ability to paw through snow to reach the grasses and sedges beneath demonstrates adaptations that allow him to survive in areas where other ungulates would starve. The ram's feeding behavior during winter involves a careful balance between energy expenditure and caloric gain. Each movement in the deep snow requires enormous amounts of energy, while the available food sources provide minimal nutrition compared to summer's abundance. His survival depends on his knowledge of wind-blown ridges and south-facing slopes, where snow accumulates less deeply and vegetation remains more accessible. His remarkable ability to conserve energy during the harsh winter months includes behavioral adaptations that reduce unnecessary movement and physiological changes that slow his metabolism. The ram's selection of bedding sites, typically on ledges that provide protection from wind while capturing maximum solar radiation, demonstrates his intimate knowledge of the microclimate variations that can mean the difference between survival and death in extreme conditions. As spring arrives and the snow begins to retreat from the lower elevations, the bighorn sheep's behavior shifts to accommodate the dramatic changes in food availability and the approaching breeding season. His movement patterns follow the retreating snow line, allowing him to access new vegetation as it becomes available, while avoiding the energy costs of breaking trail through deep snow. His selection of feeding areas during this critical period demonstrates remarkable knowledge of plant phenology and nutritional content. The ram's social behavior during spring and summer involves complex interactions with other males that establish the dominance hierarchies that will determine breeding success during the autumn rut. These interactions, ranging from subtle displays of horn size and body condition to spectacular headbutting contests, create a social structure that minimizes actual physical conflict while clearly establishing each animal's place in the pecking order. His participation in these dominance displays requires him to maintain peak physical condition throughout the year, as any sign of weakness or injury could result in a dramatic loss of social status. The ram's daily routine during summer involves intensive foraging on the nutrient-rich plants that grow in the brief alpine growing season, building the muscle mass and fat reserves necessary for both winter survival and autumn breeding competitions. The bighorn sheep's mating season represents one of the most spectacular displays of raw power and determination in the animal kingdom. The ram's courtship behavior involves elaborate displays of strength and agility, including death-defying leaps across seemingly impossible gaps and head-on collisions with other males that can be heard for miles across the mountain valleys. These confrontations, conducted on terrain where a single misstep would result in certain death, demonstrate the incredible physical capabilities that have made bighorn sheep the ultimate mountaineers. His ability to assess the fighting ability of other males through visual and auditory cues prevents most encounters from escalating to actual combat, but when two evenly matched rams do engage, the resulting battle can last for hours and involve dozens of full-force head-on collisions. The ram's reinforced skull and powerful neck muscles are specifically adapted to withstand these tremendous impacts, while his horn structure distributes the force of impact across a broader area to prevent skull fractures. The bighorn sheep's relationship with predators in the Teton ecosystem involves a complex game of cat and mouse played out on terrain where agility and sure-footedness provide the primary advantages. His ability to escape to cliff faces and other inaccessible areas gives him sanctuary from most predators, but the constant vigilance required to detect approaching threats consumes energy that could otherwise be used for foraging and growth. As autumn approaches and the first snows begin to dust the high peaks, the ram's behavior becomes increasingly focused on the approaching rut and the intensive competition that will determine his breeding success. His body condition, accumulated through months of intensive feeding, will determine his ability to compete with other males for access to ewes. His horn size and fighting ability, developed over years of social interaction, will determine his success in the violent confrontations that characterize the breeding season. These stories of wildlife are thrilling to explore, but it's just as important to confront the impact of human activity on these national parks. In Denali National Park, the traces of human activity are impossible to ignore. Roads and visitor facilities have carved their way through the once untouched wilderness, leaving permanent imprints on the landscape. Mountaineers climbing Mount McKinley have contributed to a growing problem with waste. Since the 1950s, over 70 metric tons of human waste have accumulated on the Kahiltna Glacier, forcing the park to enforce strict waste management measures. The presence of people also disrupts wildlife behavior, increasing the chances of dangerous encounters with grizzly bears. On a broader scale, climate change fueled by human actions worldwide is accelerating the thawing of permafrost and altering Denali's fragile ecosystems. Yellowstone National Park faces even greater pressure, with millions of visitors arriving each year. This relentless influx has led to vandalism of geothermal features, littering, and even damage to iconic sites like Morning Glory Pool. wildlife suffers too, as vehicle collisions and human-caused deaths take a toll on wolves, bison, and other species. Diseases introduced by people, along with air pollution from countless cars, add further strain to the park's delicate balance. Beyond its borders, ranchers sometimes kill predators, like wolves, to protect their livestock, creating ripple effects that extend deep into the ecosystem. Grand Teton National Park tells a similar story. Winter recreation in its rugged backcountry disrupts the already vulnerable bighorn sheep, whose numbers are shrinking as their habitats are fragmented by human activity. Hiking, off-road vehicles, and the ever-growing tourist presence put additional stress on wildlife. Pollution from nearby agriculture and energy development threatens air quality, while fracking and ozone depletion endanger both the park's wildlife and its visitors. Conservation efforts here aim to find a fragile balance between allowing people to experience its beauty and protecting its ecosystems from further harm. Together, these parks reveal the complex and often damaging relationship between human presence and North America's most treasured wild places. They stand as reminders that even the grandest wilderness is not immune to our footprint, and that preserving them requires constant vigilance and care. Captivated by the incredible wildlife in these national parks? Show your support by liking this video and sharing your favorite animal in the comments. Help raise awareness by sharing it, and support the protection of these precious ecosystems. Don't forget to tap the bell icon to stay updated on more unforgettable journeys into the wild.